Hi everyone, my name is Laurie. We are live in the AFTV studios and it is my honour and pleasure to be able to introduce you to episode 151 of the Talk is Cheap show. Joining me to my left, my good friend, my co-host, show analyst, former professional footballer, social media influencer and icon. If you thought I loved him last week, I love him even more this week. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please put your hands together. Give a big digital round of applause for Curtis Shaw of Curtis Shaw TV. And how's what you saying, bro?
Good, bro. Yeah, I just want to say big congratulations, everyone. We are the 2018 Carabao Cup winners. Because Man City, mate, you cheated. Yeah, give us our trophy. Big Wenger's done it again, man.
Hey, listen, man. Big fallout. Big
fallout, man.
Hit with that news this week. We're going to talk about that later, actually.
Of course.
Actually, you know what? Let's talk about it now. I mean, it's news and notes. And that is the breaking news story that's, causing ripples right up and down the football world. Man City, in case you didn't know, you've been living under a rock for most of this morning. Man City charged by the Premier League of more than 100 alleged breaches of financial regulations covering the period, I think it's from 2009 to 2018.
Yeah.
Some of the charges they've been hit with, I've listed them here. Failing to comply with FFP rules, financial fair play rules, not providing true details of the club's financial proper position, not giving proper details of player and manager remuneration, lying basically, and failing to comply with previous investigations. Now, that's a serious thing,
Yeah.
The charges are to be heard by an independent commission, and listen, it's serious. And let's not forget, City have got previous for this.
Yeah.
Because you will remember, Curtis, they were banned from the Champions League, but I think it was back in 2020 for they were found to have broken rules of the competition. I think they were later let back in on an appeal.
Course,
so it's not like they've not been here before.
Yeah.
But Curtis, my man, I've got to ask you, what's your thoughts on it?
I mean, do you know, I'm not surprised. I think anybody that's looked at Man City and the way they've done business, you look at the transfers in compared to the transfers out, there was always a discrepancy with what was going on. I know a lot of Arsenal fans are, kind of excited. We're all thinking potentially there could be a points deduction and all that. I have to say, number one, it wouldn't surprise me if Man City wriggled their way out of it. You know what I mean? Because money talks and they're a powerhouse right now in the Premier League.
Them man will have lawyers on retainer.
Yeah, they'll turn up with all sorts of lawyers, man. And on top of that, I don't think any points deduction would happen so soon.
No.
Premier League season ends in 3 months. I would imagine there'll be delays and it will take a long time for them to be found guilty. So I don't actually think it will affect this season, but you never know. Maybe it will. But if there's 100 separate charges, you would expect something to stick out of that 100, man. Something. There's got to be some guilt there somewhere, I would imagine.
It's interesting with City because, there's been this whole conversation about the money that they put into the club. And, dare I say, the whole sports washing thing about, they've had all this money, but then they've been very careful to project a very carefully nurtured image, their investment in the community and the good stuff they've done. But then there's this that comes out. You think, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So, listen, man, it's very difficult to see a world where some of these charges don't stick.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I've been to City's training ground quite a few times.
Pep must be feeling like Andrew Tate right now.
Oh, yeah, Pep Tate, man, you know what I mean? Pep Tate. It's funny, though, because Pep said if he ever finds out that they've cheated, he will leave straight away. Would he have known about it?
He might be one of them, though.
Yeah, you don't know, innit? He could have been in on it, but it's... It'll be interesting the level of punishment if they're found guilty because...
I just want to say as well, it's alleged,
It's alleged, They're charges. They haven't been found guilty of it. Yeah, because City fans will be going mad. Yeah. But listen, they deserve to be punished if it's true. You know what I mean? If it's true. I don't think they'll be relegated or anything like that because at the same time, the Premier League are going to try and protect the product. And Manchester City are now a powerhouse of the Premier League. So I think they'll have to handle the situation very carefully. And then how far back do you go? Because teams who finish second, look how many times Liverpool have finished a point behind Man City. Do you then give them titles? how deep do you go into it? So I think it will be a long investigation. It will take a while.
And it does raise the whole issue as well about financial doping and stuff like that. And as you said, if they've been found to have broken these rules and so forth, there's going to be a lot of other clubs that are going to be very angry about what's gone on. Over the years, you've heard people like Jurgen Klopp come out openly and question some of the practices that have gone on at City and Chelsea and clubs like this. So it's a very interesting situation. Now, you did raise the issue there about sanctions and points deductions, and as you said, it's very unlikely that even if they were to get found guilty of those charges, the sanctions would take place straight away and would apply to this season. I'm going to ask you straight up, because it's a conversation I've had with a number of Arsenal fans this morning. If there was to be a points deduction sanction, would you take that? Would you be happy to take that if it meant that Arsenal would have a clearer route to winning the title?
Yeah, give me them points, bro. Give me the points and run. Listen, let me tell you something.
Because I've got a slightly different view, but you go on,
I'm
bro.
running with it. Listen, anyone who watches me, I'm shameless. 2004, I've been waiting for a long time. I'm not trying to sit here at the end of May when we've lost the title by a few points. If there's an opportunity to take points, and if they're found guilty, take them points off them. You'll see me at the parade, end of May, outside the Emirates, and I'll be celebrating. Take the points off them. Listen, in an ideal world,
would you not think though that the title race this season the integrity would have been somewhat compromised if that happened?
No, because I look at it like, why should they win the title ahead of us if they're found to have been cheating? I understand,
even though
what you're
it was
saying.
the investigating period we're talking about is 2009 to 2018.
Yeah, but listen, you got to look at
that was a long time ago.
A lot of things that they've done during that period would have had a huge effect on clubs. They've taken Nasri, Clichy, Kolo Toure, Adebayor, multiple players away from us. They beat us in a cup final, the Aguero moment. So them being punished for things that happened years ago, that's just the situation. I think if they've cheated, and as I say, if they have cheated, allegedly. Listen, I get what you're saying. In an ideal world, I want Arsenal to go toe to toe with them, beat them on the football pitch, and lift the Premier League title. But football doesn't always work like that.
No.
If they've been found guilty, they deserve punishment. If we win the title with them being taken points, then so be it. I think that's just the way it is, man.
No, listen, I hear what you're saying, bro, and I absolutely understand where you're coming from. However, my view is slightly different. I think absolutely if they are found guilty, they should be punished. Points should be taken away. Listen, come down hard on them. However, I'm not sure if I want to see that. In fact, I am sure. I don't want to see that apply to this year. Do that next year. This has come out halfway through this season, literally halfway through the season. And I think it would be inappropriate for the sanction to apply now. Apply it next year. As far as Arsenal's concerned, I want to see us win the title this year. I think we've got a very real chance. And I don't think that I would feel slightly uneasy about being gifted a title off the back of something that happened between 2009 and 2018 right now. If you see what I mean.
How would you feel if they won the title by a few points and then it came out, you know what I mean, that they have cheated?
Good question. It would suck. To be honest.
You know what I mean?
It would suck. Maybe what I'm saying, because I'm saying it from a position of strength, you know what I mean? I'm not really homing in on them even winning the title. You know, but mate, it's a bit of a quandary that. But,
it is. I understand your point. Listen, we'd all like to win it in the most idealistic way and just beat them. But if they are guilty, they should be punished. But I don't think anything will happen this year. I think it'll be next season. So
it's a bit like in athletics, isn't it? Sometimes, in an Olympic, someone's won an Olympic gold medal and they're giving it like 4 years after.
Ben Johnson. Man City, they're
doing a Ben Johnson really won that race, bro. You know what I mean? To award it to the 5th place person because the other 4 are all on drugs. Okay, fair enough. Morally, it's the right thing to do, but
you didn't.
Everybody knows that whoever was in 5th that day didn't really win it. It was Ben Johnson who won it.
I'll be at the parade though, end of May. Minus 10 points. Man City lifted the trophy. I'll be there. But
where I do have something to say though is that with all this happening now and all what's going on at City, I think that just the fact that they're embroiled in this puts a bit of a cloud over the club.
Definitely.
And I think that's going to benefit us anyway.
I was saying today, Pep was complaining about fatigue travelling from Manchester to London on the coach. It's 4.5 hours on the coach. I genuinely think the way Pep is acting at the moment, I've never seen him act like that at Manchester City, falling out with players, got rid of Cancelo, De Bruyne on the bench for a big game, probably his best player. I don't know if you heard today, there's some rumour that him and Haaland have had a little fallout.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Do you know what I mean? Apparently Haaland's saying they're not passing the ball to him quick enough. I mean, it seems as if there's a little cloud there. Yeah. And this is why I'm so desperate for us to take advantage of it. And we need to. Listen, I don't think there'll be deducted points this season. I think we're going to have to beat them when we play them. But I think it's positive for us that, they say every genius has an element of madness about them, and I almost think Pep, it's going from genius to madness this season. I think he's very frustrated with the lack of hunger.
You can see that.
We need to home in on that.
It's palpable. You can see it. You saw him on the touchline yesterday. Man was scratching his head. He threw his water bottle down. And okay, managers do that type of thing, but he had that almost pained expression on his face.
Yeah.
When I was watching that game against Tottenham. Things are not looking good for them. And listen, hey man, I'm not exactly celebrating, but I'm not crying either. Yeah. But okay, moving on then. Some other news that broke today. Jesse Marsch has been relieved of his duties at Leeds. Surprised or not?
No. I watched them yesterday against Forest. They were terrible. I know he signed a lot of American players who he knows, but I never really felt he was the right manager for that. I have to admit, I was looking at the game yesterday thinking, they look like they're getting relegated.
Really?
That team looked very disconnected. There wasn't a lot of fight. They were just kind of going through the motions, and I just thought, if you keep him around, you're gone, mate.
Wow.
So I think they've made the right choice. I don't like to see managers get sacked, but I don't think he was taking them anyway.
Yeah, okay. So a very quick one then. Bielsa's been installed as favourite to return.
Bielsa?
That's what I'm hearing. God. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. I'm not even sure if he'd won it.
No.
But who would there's a few names being thrown around. Bielsa returning, Steven Gerrard, Hasenhüttl, Big Sam, somebody suggested to me today, he might get the call.
It depends where they're trying to go. Big Sam's like an emergency, isn't it? When your club's on the way, you get him, he'll keep you up. I actually think Hasenhüttl was a decent manager. I think he had no money at Southampton. Didn't really get a fair chance. I saw Mancini being linked with it as well. Big manager, man. I rate him highly, but Bielsa, I don't think there's any chance of that happening, man. Them players aren't ready for him. I don't think he'd want to go back.
I don't think he'd want to go
back. No, I don't think so.
But so that news broke today. I've got to say as well, things are not looking so good for your mate, Nathan Jones, at Southampton. I know you played with him together at Luton. Was it Luton?
No, Yeovil.
Yeovil. He's taken over at Southampton and things have not gone well. He had a little purple patch a few weeks ago with a couple of good results, but it's gone downhill rapidly, and a lot of people in the game, man, saying he could be next. So we'll see how that goes.
Got a long contract to get a nice pay.
At the very least, that's what you're going to get. So before we finish the breaking news item, I think it's relevant. I know it's not entirely related to football, but the news broke this morning about the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. So obviously our condolences go out to the people there that lost their lives, and obviously several others hurt and trapped. Also hearing that there's some footballers involved. There's a Turkish club, is it Hatayspor? And one of their players is former Newcastle Premier League player and Ghanaian international Christian Atsu. At the moment, he's not been found either. So really sad news there. So listen, we hope that that situation improves and that the players there can be found. So, okay. That was news and notes. Moving on to one of our regular features, which is to review Arsenal's last game since our last show. So that would have taken place last Saturday. Everton versus Arsenal. Saturday, early morning kickoff, something that, it's not always our best look. Arsenal travelling up north to Everton, a place that we haven't done well. In fact, we got beat there last year. Similar to last year, we go up this year, and Everton hadn't won a game in a number of games. However, it was always going to be a difficult game, let's be honest. Everton, what are they, 19th in the table? Hadn't made any signings in the transfer window. Things were looking at a fairly low ebb for them. However, the one bit of positivity they did have is that they managed to appoint a new manager, Sean Dyche, and a lot of people, myself included, were speculating that in itself might be some positive news for them. We spoke on the show last week about possible new manager bounce and how we could overcome it. So I guess the question going into this game was, could Arsenal go to Everton and win, extend their lead in the championship race? Could they overcome the expected new manager bounce? I'll just give a very brief synopsis of the game, then I'll invite Curtis to comment. Right, so the game starts. Straight away you could see Everton looked up for it. They looked energetic, they looked physical, the crowd were pumped. And I thought to myself, yeah, man, this is for real. You know what I mean? You saw Onana and Doucouré in that midfield, man, and they were looking very, very Spartan. So I thought, and these guys, they're going to have to show out today. Unfortunately, it didn't quite materialise for us. Some of our better players were a bit under par. Didn't quite... we weren't at the races, I think it's fair to say. But a lot of that was to do with Everton. You got to give them credit. I thought that they were on it. And they were, they were up for it. And if anything, I think they possibly were a little bit more up for it than we were, which is a bit disappointing. Knowing what to expect, we still weren't able to deal with it the way we should have done. And in the first half, Everton created a few chances that if they'd have done better on another day, they could have been 3-0 up, or maybe 3-1. I think we had one shot kicked off the line. Second half, again, not quite there. We had a few patches, but not quite there. And then the 60th minute, James Tarkowski pops up at the far post and scores to put Everton 1-0 in front. And what I thought was instrumental about that is that goal, for me, kind of epitomised the whole game. So you had Tarkowski basically holding off our captain, Martin Odegaard, and just basically say, listen, man, louder, I've got this. Just bullied him out the way. Created himself enough space to head the ball past the keeper, 1-0. And they go on to win the game. And disappointing day, man, I've got to say. But I've got to also say, as much as it pains me to say, I think Everton deserved their win. And I've got to be honest and say they were a bit more up for it than we were. I hope I haven't gone on too long. But Curtis, what's your thoughts?
No, listen, man, we went up north and got bullied, bro. Let's be honest. I think the thing for me, look, I didn't expect Arsenal to go all season without losing another game in reality. What was disappointing was how we lost. I think it felt like Arsenal from a few years ago when Wenger and we were a very good technical side, but you could bully us a little bit. And I kind of felt like that soft underbelly had disappeared. So to see that performance against Everton was a bit like, wow, like I just didn't see that coming. And we all knew Everton were going to be fired up, and you spoke about new manager bounce, Sean Dyche, but he's not a miracle worker. He came in and probably simplified the tactics and set them up in a more rigid way. But we just couldn't live with them. And I was shocked because, Xhaka and Thomas Partey in midfield are pretty strong guys. Odegaard, look, he's not going to physically win a battle against them.
He's not going to win world's strongest man.
No, he's not. Do you know what I mean? But what I didn't like so much about the performance, they looked like they wanted it more than us. Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, you're in the relegation zone, but we're in a title challenge. We should want every game as much as them. And I think what was also a bit worrying, we didn't really have a plan B. So it wasn't like Arteta could go, well, this is going wrong, so let me draw for this. It was kind of...
He brought on Jorginho, didn't he?
See, this guy, you're going to get me in trouble. Comments are going to roast me now, you know what I mean? Listen, like I said,
What's the plan B, bro?
Jorginho in this particular game, it wasn't his fault that we lost the game. I know we've spoken off camera and stuff. I wasn't enthused with that transfer at all, to be honest.
I've got to say, most people weren't.
Well, some people were, man. Some people were sending me pictures of how many passes he's completed and Ballon d'Or nomination 3 years ago. But
it's interesting that one, though. We're digressing slightly.
Yeah,
but
go on.
I'm going to be honest, bro. When I got the news that they'd signed him, I was distinctly under. Oh, no. It was far from a celebration, bro. And listen, that's no disrespect to the player, because I'm aware of who Jorginho is and what he does. And listen, he's a very decent player. And, people are going to flood me with stats and say, once nominated for Ballon d'Or and pass rates and this and that and rare. But I'm looking at the fact that we were in the hunt for Caicedo, right? And then we end up with Jorginho. I was palpably disappointed. I was underwhelmed. And I'm sure you...
Bro, we spoke listen, I get it. We're in a time where Arsenal fans feel good about what's happening at the club. So we're trying to find the positive in everything the club do. And I understand that. But it's also fine to question the club when you think they could have done a lot more now.
Is it? Sure.
Well, this is what I believe anyway.
You're not going to question Arteta.
No. Well, do you know what?
You'll be labelled a hater if you're not careful.
It might not even be his fault, because I just look at, I think, we're top of the Premier League, right? Players would want to join us in the current situation. We clearly got money because we made big money offers for players. My question... Yeah, exactly. My question is to Edu or Vinay or Josh, whoever it comes from, how come you can't convince big transfers to come to this football club? The transfers we made in the summer were quality, but Zinchenko, Gabby, Jesus, there's a connection there already. Thomas Partey was a release clause. You just pay the money. There was no negotiation. How come Chelsea in 10th can go and get these players? We're top and we can't. So for me, listen, Jorginho, we took the cheap option. I'm sorry. If you're chasing a Premier League title and you're trying to use that January to get you over the finish line, I don't think Jorginho at the age of 31 makes a significant difference. He's a decent squad player. He's got a good CV, but we've now got 4 centre midfielders that are in their 30s. El Nenny's about to get a new deal while he's injured, and he's nearly 31. Jorginho's 31. Xhaka's 30. Partey's just about to turn 30. So, listen, for me...
Is it me, though? I mean, I almost see, and I'm going back to the game on Saturday. When I saw Jorginho come on, I was like, what's the likelihood of him creating a sufficient impact that he's going to change this game and turn it around? And it was very unlikely.
It wasn't that game.
I kind of see Jorginho as almost as the type of player that you bring on when you're trying to shore up a game rather than when you're chasing a game. But anyway, listen, we digressed enough. Let's get back to the Everton game. So,
I mean, I tell you what, the guy playing centre mid for Everton, Onana, that looks like the kind of player we could have done with. 6'5", can run, can pass, 21 years of age.
He looked an absolute beast.
He looked like a monster,
and they had a rejuvenated Decore alongside.
Decore looked like a young... Yeah, they took us to the ghetto, man. They took us to the ghetto, bro. Their midfield was on smoke. They took us to the ghetto.
I don't listen. I've got to be careful how I approach these things. But I saw a couple of comments on Twitter saying that, listen, man, that BLM midfield. Black Lives Matter midfield.
The man took us to the ends, bro. We didn't know what we was in Toxic in Liverpool. We didn't know where we were. The man snatched 3 points. Trust me, man. We didn't.
We kind of struggled to live with.
We needed to be in the Emirates, man. Sunny afternoon, that early kickoff in Liverpool. But you know what? We just got to hope it was a blip. That's all we can cling to, man. Let's hope it was a blip.
So listen, the fallout of the game, we lost the game now, and like you said, there were slight concerns being expressed. Some people were saying, listen, man, it wasn't so much a defeat, it was the manner of the defeat that we got bullied. It kind of harks back to those bad old days. Remember the closing years of Wenger when we were going to teams and were getting bullied and could do little to stop them. It was kind of reminiscent of that. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but it is back-to-back defeats now, isn't it? And we're reaching a crucial stage of the season. So that wasn't nice to countenance. However, the very next day, our friends up the road do us a little favour and beat City.
I don't know about friends, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Them lot.
I mean, it's funny though, with that game, there was a slight unease as I'm watching that game because although I want City to lose, I didn't really want Spurs to win. I almost found myself in a bit of a quandary there. I didn't really know which way to go. I think a draw, I probably would have preferred a draw. Because I didn't want to see Spurs win, and obviously I certainly didn't want to see City win. But so it's almost one of them, and it kind of struck me. I thought that even when Arsenal lose, they still win, really, don't they? Because obviously City lost, and then obviously this morning we're hearing about the news with City being embroiled in his financial scandal. So. Yeah, it's an interesting one. And we got the fan zone available. So people out there, ring up and tell us your views. Do you think it's a case of when Arsenal lose, they still win? Because it would appear that even though we didn't have a very good day on Saturday, by the close of the weekend, everything's back on again.
I have to admit, man, I did a watch along yesterday, and I was,
I saw some of that. Yeah.
I was a little bit like, I felt a bit disgraceful with what was going on, but I was like, you know what, it's for the greater good, man. When Kane scored, I was like, am I happy about this or not? Because like you said, I mean, we want both teams to lose almost. But do you know what? I think...
I felt slightly dirty. I felt
I had to get the debt out. You know, like
after
old
the
school,
game,
man.
I had a shower.
Yeah.
Because I thought...
This don't feel right. But you know what? You know why I accepted it? Because deep down, Harry Kane, we know he's a boyhood gooner. We saw the red hair. He was at Highbury. Do you know what I mean? Tottenham aren't near us this season. So, you know what I mean? Cheeky Nando's on a Sunday to celebrate, you know what I mean? Chicken.
I've got to ask you as well. There's one other thing that I meant to ask you. Right, so after the game, I'm pretty sure you saw it. The comments from Mikel Arteta. He's he expressed his love for the team, which is fine. But he's saying he loves them more this week than he did last week. Now, I thought there was a very interesting use of terminology. And I've got to say, bro, like, I found it slightly cringeworthy. I know where he's going, but like, bro, like, he does have this in him, doesn't he? He does come out with some of these statements. We saw back in the summer. Yeah, he he made some very choiceful words on the Amazon documentary, and it was a hark back to those days. So, were you inspired by those comments?
I mean, I get what he was doing. I think he was trying to deflect the blame away from the players, and Mourinho used to do that, and managers have done it. I get it. It's just at the time we just lost, I was a bit vexed. I was like, come on, bro. Like, he's like, I loved them more than I did 3 hours ago. I was like, bro, I just watched that game. I didn't love them more than I did 90 minutes ago, I tell you that.
Do you think he would have tore into them? I mean, there's a school of thought. There's two schools of thought here. Some people saying he said that, but in the confines of the dressing room, it was a very different story. Or some people, James, I've heard James say this today, shout out to James. Yeah, man. He said that, no, he actually feels that he would have gone in the dressing room and said, listen, man, nothing but love. Even though you went out there and got bullied by Everton.
I think there would... I think there could have been a balance of both without me sitting on the fence. I think he would have said, I've got you back, but there's no way a fan or a manager can look at that performance and think that's acceptable. Yeah. When we lost to Man United, we weren't having meltdowns because we was like, you know what, we were just a bit naive, got caught out, but we played well. This was from start to finish, it was just a nothing performance. So I think he would have had a little bit of a go at him and said, listen, man, the stakes are high now. If you want to win the league, that's not acceptable. You've got to go to Anfield, Man City, tougher places than this. So let's hope it acts as a wake-up call for them, moving forward.
Right, okay. Well, let's put our headphones on because I've been told by our technical team that we should have some callers coming through. So, as I've said, people, ring up and let Curtis and myself know what you think about, the title of the show is very clear there. Even when we lose, we seem to win because let's face it, we lost the game to Everton, but then the very next day, Spurs go and do us a favour by beating City, and then of course we wake up this morning and it's been splashed all over the papers and all over the social media everywhere that City have allegedly broke these financial rules and could be in serious trouble. And as I said, Curtis, I think that even though the sanctions might not apply until next season, I think the whole aura of the club has been disrupted. Definitely. Man City, that is. So it's a win-win for us. But tell us what you think, people. Also, let us know your thoughts on the game. Are we being a bit harsh? Is Curtis, he said there that performance was unacceptable. It's a hark back to the old days when we got bullied. I must admit, I do have concerns, not least the fact that we've now back-to-back defeats. Are we reaching a crucial point in the season, or are you confident that we can get things back on track this weekend?
Hopefully.
So, ring us up, man, and let us know. What else did I want to ask you?
There's calls.
Oh, there's a caller. There's a caller. Could you turn us up in the headphones, please?
Yeah, I can hear, but it's quiet.
What else did I want to ask?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
I cannot hear you.
Oh, you can't hear us.
I cannot hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, yeah. Can you hear me?
It's quiet though, yeah.
It is a bit low than normal.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right, sorry. I'll try back again. Sorry.
Okay.
We had him on last time, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. He's our
We'll wait for the
poet.
next caller. He was saying get the comments up. YouTube comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's our resident poet.
Yeah, I was waiting. Right, next one. Yeah, I can hear you, yeah. There we go. Wizard.
The Wizard's on. Let's hear from the Wizard. He's going to baffle us with science.
Yo,
Hello?
can you hear us?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you like the last guy.
He can't hear us.
Oh, God. We're not having a...
I feel like I'm on TV now. We're having one or two technical difficulties here.
Let's have a look at the comments.
Yeah, get some comments.
That's the next best thing, isn't it? What we got? There's a couple of people recommending that Leeds bring in Frank Lampard. I think that's cloaked with sarcasm.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, Lamps. I don't know about that one.
We've got a super chat here from E. Ross. I'd be interested to hear your comments on that. He says, Laurie, we got our bellies tickled. I wouldn't put it quite as strongly as that, to be honest. That wasn't my thoughts on the game. But nevertheless, I did think that Everton wanted it a bit more than us. Now, listen, it was Sean Dyche's first game. They're at home. They're in a desperate situation. So I can almost understand why they would have been mega up for it. But as Curtis said, and I'll invite you to comment on this, I was slightly disappointed that we didn't match them on that because, listen, we need the points as much as they do, let's be honest.
Yeah, for different reasons. But yeah, big up E-Ross, man. He's good. Man said we got our bellies tickled. We always struggle there, we haven't won at Goodison for years.
Yeah, I mean, we got beat there last year, in the corresponding game last year. It was interesting because Damari Gray, I see him sat there looking
didn't even come on,
he
did
was
he?
never coming on, was he?
Yeah, no, it was he was sticking with McNeil, his Burnley boy, and then Iwobi on the other side as well.
McNeil, Tarkovsky.
The little Burnley reunion.
Yeah, made in Burnley, as people say.
Made in Burnley, yeah. All right, here we go. Michael's
I think we've got another call on the line. Michael, looking forward to hear what he has to say.
Okay, I can hear you guys now. How you doing?
I'm good, man.
I'm good. Can hear you.
Far away,
Great to
Michael.
see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so this is what I want to say, that the people that have come on the fan zone to just pour out their resentment and their grievance, they remind me of someone. They remind me of Xhaka about 3 years ago. Right. And I feel like saying, if Xhaka can grow up, then why can't we? That kind of behavior is appropriate if we accept that Arsenal is just a banter team. But we're not a banter team anymore. We're challenging for the league. And that means that Arteta and the players need us to take responsibility for pushing them forward and not just to throw a fit and throw our toys out of the pram when we have a bad result.
Right, okay. So listen, from judging by the tone of your comments there, you don't think that loss was particularly significant?
I think it could be significant. I'm a little worried about Partey, actually. That if we say that Partey is the source of, is a source of our power when we win, when we don't win, I sort of look to Partey as being the source of the failure. And I don't know if that's completely fair, but he seemed to be like not quite as sharp as he was as he's been in the past.
Yeah. I mean, going into the game, there was, I think it's more than rumours that he was carrying a rib injury, and I think looking at that performance on Saturday, I'll probably say that there was a legacy of that rib injury still there. How enthused or not so enthused are you with Jorginho as a replacement?
I think he's competent. He's not as good as Partey, but look, he's the best that we could get to get cover for Partey. So why are we suffering over this? He's the best that we've got if Partey's not available. And we'll move forward like that. I don't see that there's a whole lot of fuss about that.
Would you have liked to, because of the position we're in, and obviously being top of the league and Man City kind of chasing us, like you say there, Jorginho's the best we could have got, but do you feel like we could have got better? Or do you feel like they just kind of took the easier route in the end? Because it was an easy deal to get done. Chelsea were willing to let him go.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Casito would have been a good choice, but if he's not available, as Robbie says, he's not available. And it's pointless to bang our head against the wall over that. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that Jorginho is better than a stopgap solution right now, but he's as good as we could get.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And listen, I'm not saying this to denigrate Jorginho. He has been a very good player for Chelsea in the past and Italy, of course. I must admit, though, there was more than a tinge of disappointment from me, and I'll tell you why. Because, as Curtis alluded to earlier, we were in the market for Mudryk and João Felix. We missed out on those. Then we're in the market for Casino, and then we end up with Jorginho. It was just a little bit underwhelming. And listen, I'm trying. I don't want to scapegoat the player or make him the source of my frustration, because I'm sure he has quality. But it's just, I couldn't help but feel a little underwhelmed.
I asked the question a little bit differently. It's not, would we rather have like Mudryk versus Jorginho, but would you rather be Mudryk or Jorginho right now? And Mudryk is going to make a lot of money on a mid-table team that's full of stars that have no chemistry at all. And he'll be sharp and he'll play well, but he's not going to be part of anything like what he could have had if he was with Arteta, right? And Jorginho, I mean, he's got to be very happy that he's stepping into probably the most meaningful part of his career right now if he can help us win a title.
Oh, yeah. So he's made up, mate.
He's hit the jackpot. Yeah. He's thinking, Chelsea were going to let me go. I've ended up top of I've gone from 10th to 1st.
But never mind about Jorginho. How do you feel, though, that he's there?
I say Gloria in ex-Chelsea is what I say. So I'll let you go. I just want to give you some Shakespeare at the end.
Go on.
Please do.
What?
Oh, he's gone off. Maybe that was Shakespeare, disappearing act.
He's still talking, but we can't hear him. I don't know what happened there.
I think he got cut off.
Yeah, apologies for that. Hopefully we can get him. Oh, he's back. He's back. Let's get him back, man. We missed
hey, guys, you always cut out when I start with the Shakespeare. What's up with that?
It's not us. It's not us. We want to hear it. Let's have it.
All right, here we go. Yeah. Why talk you of debating? Why shall we fight if we pretend no title? Keep the faith. Thanks a lot.
All the best, man. Short and sweet.
Yeah. Thanks for that, bro. Look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Wizard's back.
Wizard's back. Here he is.
Here I am. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Us all right, yeah?
Where you calling from, bro?
Of course. I'm in Norway right now.
Oh, Norway. Wow. Right.
In Oslo, yeah. It's very cold outside. It's like -5.
Is that Martin Odegaard territory?
Yes, it is.
What did you think of his performance on the Saturday?
On Saturday. I think the whole team's performance wasn't great. I think, we lacked a bit of enthusiasm. But having said that, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because, as the show is called, when Arsenal lose, they win. They still win. I think it runs a bit deeper because if you go back to last season when we screwed up for the Champions League, the lessons learned from that is what pushed us on to this season, right? Yeah. And I think it's going to be a similar kind of situation with the Everton game because I think the team was a bit complacent going into it. Everton sitting bottom, they're playing very poorly. So I think the team kind of thought it wouldn't be that much of a battle, but it ended up with Everton running the most of any team this whole season.
Wow.
So you think it's a bit of complacency? That's interesting. Curtis, what do you think?
Go on.
I agree. I think sometimes when you're at the top of the league, you turn up at certain grounds and you think, we'll roll these over. Do you know what I mean? But I think because if you looked at Everton the last few weeks, Lampard's team looked like they had nothing, but this Sean Dyche team was rejuvenated. So like Wizard saying, I hope that we learn a lesson from it moving forward. That's the biggest positive we need to take out of it is don't make that mistake in the next game that's similar to that. And Brentford might be similar to that. They're a physical team as well.
I'll tell you, Wizard, I'll tell you what was slightly disappointing from me, right? So on the show last week, we had a show last week, and we spoke quite lengthily about new manager bounce. And I'm sure you're familiar with the term. That is a term that's often used when a manager takes over at a club. He's come with new ideas, a new approach, a new energy. And Sean Dyche is a manager that is known for getting the best out of players with limited abilities. So basically what he will typically do, he will come in, he will restructure the club, reorganise it. I mean, even heard a story this week that the minute he took over at Everton, he banned snoods and hats and all that type of stuff at training. So he's very much into his work ethic and effort and stuff like that. So we knew what to expect, so with the complacency thing, I'm a little bit disappointed if that was the case, because you know that this guy is going to try and get that team working hard. They're at home, they're desperate for the points, they're going to be coming at us. And where I'm a little bit disappointed with the players is that you knew this was going to be the case, and yet you still allowed yourself to get bullied, is what a lot of people are saying. I'm not sure if I would quite put it in that way, but what I would say is this: it was clear to me watching that game that Everton wanted it a little bit more than us, and you could tell by that they were winning the 50-50s. And I said earlier in the show, if you look at the goal that they scored, and listen, this is no disrespect to Norway, but Martin Odegaard, who's been exceptional for us this season, the way Tarkowski kind of handed him off like that, I just thought, it's a little bit disappointing. What's your thoughts on that?
So I think it does still come back to the complacency, because remember, this is a very young squad, right? They've been together for, a season, 2 seasons now? And they're doing very well. And I think Arteta's the kind of managers, they're on a good run. He's not going to intervene with what's going on. And because they're still so young, they might have gone into the Everton game as a squad, as a young squad, thinking they'll roll them over. But that's why I think Arteta he's a genius, because he will look at this game and he will give them the lesson that they need to learn from in this game in order to move on, and then we start performing again. When we lost to United, we went on and won 10 games in a row, right? Something like that. Yeah. I think we could find ourselves in a quite a similar situation. I think it's good that we have 2 home games coming up, because I mean, we should really be beating Brentford at home, especially the way the season's going. City at home that game is very hard to predict given the circumstances right now. And then the run of games we have after that, they're not that difficult, So I think we could see ourselves have a nice little bounce back, and that's down to, I think, the way Arteta manages the squad. I think he's very good at sports psychology.
So from what you're saying there, you would seem to be indicating that Saturday was a blip, and you fully expect us to get back on course this weekend. Yeah. You know what? I can agree with that. Curtis, you got any thoughts on that?
No, listen, like Wizard said, man, I think Brentford at home, I think it's really good that we're at home this week, because the fans will get behind the team. A few new signings, obviously they haven't really seen Jorginho and co yet, and I think Brentford are in good form at the moment, but I would still fancy us to beat Brentford, and then it sets us up nicely for the game on Wednesday against City, which I don't know about you, but it feels like a cup final to me.
Oh, definitely.
Psychologically, I just feel like if we beat them, we're going to win the league. I'm going to be honest. But if they beat us, it kind of feels like, man, it's going to be hard work. I mean, what do you think about that game?
I think that game is the biggest game in the history of the Emirates, if you ask me.
Wow.
Oh my goodness! And I'm flying to London on Friday.
Amazing!
Game, and I actually live in London.
Oh, okay, right,
I'm just visiting.
Well, listen, bro. When that game comes around, try and hit us up before, man. We can maybe link up with you or something like that. So, but thank you very much for the call.
Big up, Wizard, bro.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Right. Yeah, interesting thoughts.
Yeah. No, listen. I think the general feeling, and it should be the general feeling, is. Even with myself, Saturday I was fuming. It got better yesterday. By today, I've kind of been like, do you know what? I was disappointed, but we've got to move forward now. We're top of the league. We're still in control. City didn't gain any points on us, which was a positive. We got a winnable game at the weekend, and they've got the whole week off. And then obviously, we don't want to skip past the Brentford game because the players can't do that. But these next 2 home games feel like they can have a massive impact on our season. I just think if we beat City, we'll be 8 points clear of a game in hand. I just think we're in a great position.
Before the City game, we've got a very important game coming up. It's our Ops of the week. It's this weekend, this Saturday, 3 o'clock. Arsenal against Brentford. So let's talk about it, man. Do we have another caller on the line?
Yes, Jay.
Jay. Where are you calling from, Jay?
I'm from Toronto.
Oh, wow.
Right, big up, man.
Big up the Canadian Massive. The T-Dot Massive. The T-Dot Massive.
Yeah. So, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So, on the game, I just think, the whole team was flat. Like, from beginning to end, the whole team was just flat. I thought that Partey and Odegaard didn't have a good game. They just kind of seemed void of ideas. The wings weren't getting used. I think if we were going to get anything out of the game, it was going to come from Saka, I think, because he looked pretty bright. He almost scored in the first half. Defensively, we played okay, but they didn't have much of a threat, honestly. Yeah. So, disappointing. But we'll bounce back against Brentford at home. We should be able to beat them.
Jay, do you know a question I wanted to ask, and I want to put this out to the community? I was saying, are we now getting to a point where our fullbacks are not helping our wingers enough? Because if you look at Martinelli and Saka, every time they get the ball, they got 2 players on them. You got Zinchenko going into midfield, doesn't really help Martinelli in that sense. And Ben White doesn't overlap Saka that much. Do you think we have to look at the way we help those 2 wide players when we're going forward?
Absolutely. I mean, looking back to last season, we had Tierney overlapping quite a bit. He was very bombing on the left side. And I think with Martinelli last season, we could see that even a couple games, even if Tierney doesn't receive the ball, he's still distracting the fullback. Yeah. So it allows him to move inside. And then on the other side, this season, Ben White's been doing a good job overlapping in general. But this game, he just seemed to be very passive and not wanting to push up far. And Saka was always caught in front of the defender. I forgot his name. But just he always seemed to have no one outside of him. I mean, Zinchenko's been a revelation this season. He's been our best signing, I think, since for a long time in the defensive department. But him dropping into midfield, it helps our transition play. But I think with going forward, he needs Martinelli and Saka both need help on the outside. I really think that's going to... When Jesus comes back too, I think that'll be something that we look for because they link up good on the wing. Yeah, Jesus and Martinelli.
100%.
Okay, thanks. And just before you go, you've seen our title of the show. So obviously we lost on Saturday and we're fearing the worst because City, next day they're taking on Tottenham. We're thinking if they win, they've cut the points deficit to 2 and it's all on again. But Spurs, to be fair to them, they've done us a favour. And of course, we wake up this morning, I'm sure you heard the news over there in Toronto about the City and the financial fair play rules. So do you think that in itself is a pivotal moment, that even when we lose, we still end up winning in a way because we've, the points deficit is still the same. And of course, City now have become embroiled in this kind of stuff, which will do no good for them. So you think that's a win-win for us this weekend?
Looking back on it now, it is a win-win. On Saturday afternoon, after the game, I was really thinking, I was like, wow, we got away with one. If they can do us a favor, our noisy neighbors can do us a favor, then, that'd be great. But I don't know. I mean, I think that with Spurs beating them, it just kind of made me think, okay, well, it's still a 5-point gap. Game in hand, Everton at home. So definitely we have a chance of still keeping them at arm's length. Yeah. But I must admit, when Kane scored, I was gonna jump up, but I was like, I can't jump up. I was gonna jump up. I was like, no, wait, it's early days and I can't stand him. So I was happy, but I was also, it's catch-22.
Yeah, you felt much the same that I did. As much as I was pleased, I couldn't celebrate, if that makes sense. But yeah.
No.
But listen, bro, thank you very much for your call. Appreciate that. You must call us back again. Appreciate your comments, bro, and take care.
Yeah, man.
Nice one. Thank you very much. We got another call? We got 2 more calls.
Tom's on next.
Hi.
Hi, Tom. How you doing? Where are you calling from?
I'm from Israel.
Oh, Israel! Wow, lovely.
Yeah, it's a first time here, but it's not actually first time on FTV. I actually been last season at the Man United game. I actually had a video. Robbie interviewed me.
Oh, okay, on the fan cams. Yeah.
Yeah, on the fan cam. Yeah,
excellent.
So yeah.
Right. Okay. So you've seen the title of our show.
Yes, I did.
You'll be aware by now. Arsenal at the weekend, we lost to Everton. We were a little bit downcast by that, but then the next day, Tottenham do us a favour. They beat City, and then of course we wake up this morning. I'm sure you heard the news over in Israel about City with all the financial fair play allegations and accusations and all the rest of it. Do you think that even when we lose to Everton, we still end up winning because of those two occurrences, or?
Well, first of all, yes, of course, because. Even if City lost, so in a way you look at it, we didn't lose any gap. The gap stays as it is, and City has one less game to close it. So as long as we keep the distance, even if we lose, even we both team loses all their games, theoretically the same number of games until now to the end of the season, when we still win the league. So it's more of keeping our distance from them. So
absolutely.
Even if we lose, the important thing that they didn't close the gap.
They never made a penny ground on us. Yeah.
I think the interesting thing, Arteta, even though we're looking at it in a positive way, there must be a little bit of a feeling within him that thinks, if only we would have won. Because we would have been 8 points clear now with a game in hand, which would have been an even better cushion moving forward. I know obviously they didn't gain anything, but the win would have just been it would have made it a perfect weekend.
Yeah, that's of course, you always think of that. Even I was like, even before our game, I was like, Tottenham could beat City because they do it like every season for some reason. They're like their kryptonite. The way they play, they somehow manage. So I was thinking like, this is a great time to get like this 8-point gap just before our game, and getting our win after that in a week and a half, and then we get this 11-point gap, and people start saying that's it. But it is what it is, and we couldn't handle. And it happens, and apparently Everton are kryptonite, so at least it's kind of even. It's kind of evened out this weekend.
Regarding the Everton game, I'm sure you watched the game. Now, would you regard that loss as a blip, or is this some kind of deeper concern that you have?
It's a bit of both, because it is a blip, because I think that the one thing that we lost, because it's our middle field. They didn't work out. Partey, I think his game was not good, and I think it actually was right to put on Jorginho. Even I know, ironically, that we considered just a second after that, and I had my friend who's a Chelsea fan who rang up to me immediately and said, like, you see, that's what happened when you bring on Jorginho. But of course, it doesn't equal, and I think it's actually had pretty good game. But the thing is, and it said the caller before me said it as well, the wing backs, the wingers. The thing that concerns me is that they use the same tactics that Newcastle did when they double up our wingers. Yeah. And similar thing to Newcastle, that Newcastle have a 3 very strong midfields. Guimaraes and Joelinton and Joelinton and Everton had the same thing. They had Onana, who was playing out of his socks.
He was a beast.
And Ghana and Doucouré. So they managed to nullify us in both central and middle and the wings, because in most games, even when we're nullified in the wings, Saka, Martinelli get everything. Then we usually have Odegaard or Partey or Xhaka making things happen, and this was a very, very good, or for us, bad combination that they managed to do both at the same time, which I assume was actually down to us as well. But that's a bit worrying me, because I think that the fact that in not a very parted way, because Newcastle game was just about less than a month ago. So two teams actually managed to nullify us in a very same way, and it's actually allowed team to try the same tactic, which I'm sure not for most people most team it will work, but it is a bit of a worry. So maybe mixing up a bit with Trossard or some having Smith Rowe when he comes back instead of Xhaka gives a bit of different elements and different tactics is something that maybe Arteta should try. But we will see. That's what I think.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your call, man.
No problem.
Make Tom, man. All the best, bro.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Yeah, made some good points.
He did. And listen, the game this weekend against Brentford, I mentioned it just before we took that call. That is not going to be an easy game.
Definitely not.
Brentford currently 7th in the table. They're on a good run of form. Let's have a look at their season so far. They played 21 games, won 8, drawn 9, lost only 4, 33 points. We did beat them earlier in the season, but we know that they are a very competent team with some good players that can hurt you. Ivan Toney being one of them. Mbuemo, he looks strong, he looks good. Wisa. So they do have players there, and the manager, Thomas Frank's done a good job with those players. He's a very competent manager. He likes to play what he terms as rock and roll football. And they're coming to the Emirates this Saturday in good heart. So what do you make of that game, Curtis?
It'd be a very tough game, very tough. Physical team as well. And like you said, Everton and Newcastle, they've kind of set the blueprint of how to play against us now. So
Thomas Frank is a very astute manager, and he would have been watching that game.
Elliot, last call.
Elliot. Hi.
Hey, El.
I recognise Elliot.
I know Elliot, man. Come
on. Tell the people where you're calling from. We know you are, but tell the people where you're calling from.
Calling from Toronto. CCC unit.
Hey, big up Elliot, man. Big up. New merch again, yeah? New merch?
New merch. Well, this is old merch. This is the old merch. The new merch. I should have got my new merch for you today. I'm sorry I did not appear with it. But again, I'm happy to be here with you nonetheless. Next week. Yes. Next week I'll have the new merch. Absolutely.
Right. So you've seen the title of the show. Even when we lose, we win. Is that something you concur with, or do you have any concerns about the game on last Saturday?
No, listen, as long as, we can rectify the wrongs of Everton, then I do not have any concerns, really. I think, Arsenal are in a good space. It seems everything seems to be going our way. Well, Lord knows we've been in the wilderness for the last 19 years. So, 2 buses coming along at once, thank God, is indeed happening. So, am I worried? No. I think, I trust Arteta to get the tactics right for the next match. I'm glad that we had the litmus test we did last week. I'm glad that the scum down the road were able to thwart our more recent opponents. And quite simply, I'm in a happy state. I'm in a very, very happy state. I'm a very elevated, happy state. Lord knows, I'm calling you while on a lunch break again. So I know I'm in a happy state then.
A lot of people have been saying that. Should Arteta look at changing the team a little bit? Because I think we kind of know what our strongest 11 is if everyone's available. But Martinelli, for example, I think the last few games looked a little bit tired, a little bit one-dimensional. Ben White has had 2 shaky league games. Would you maybe look at Tomiyasu or look at Trossard? Would you change anything?
Potentially, yeah. Trossard can come into the lineup if given the opportunity. But again, if Martinelli is given another opportunity, then that's fine. We all know that Martinelli works well with Jesus. Jesus is not there, and he's in, and we're seeing the effects of it.
Yeah.
And when Jesus returns, then you'll see the real Martinelli once more. One who's able to beat any sort of double team that comes his way, and is able to get back in the goals again. So again, I'm not, Trossard comes on, that's fine, that's totally fine. Just to give it a change of pace, just to mix things up a bit. But if Martinelli starts again, listen, we just gave this guy a new contract for crying out loud.
Yeah.
He's one of the pillars of the team. He understands that. He realizes that it's a rough patch, but we got to keep going. I mean, listen, we're in first place because of him, nonetheless. So again, we got to give him our confidence, give him our faith, and realize that going forward, he is our guy. And if Trossard comes in, sure, but if Martinelli stays, all well too. We didn't give him all this money for nothing. So let him ride through the rough patches and
see where it goes. Elliot, if I could just ask you briefly, see where it goes, yes. So we signed Jorginho. You got a little glimpse of him on Saturday. How do you feel about the signing of Jorginho?
Well, listen, I'm glad that you brought that up because I roasted your brother just the other day, as you saw. Because quite simply, he said, "Oh, he's the only guy who's available." So okay, fine, fair enough. Even though I presented Onana to him, and he was saying, "I don't want that guy. I only want Jorginho."
Really?
So,
I bet it's changed.
Then Saturday came, and he saw the real Onana, and I don't know if I was ringing in his ear at the time of his viewing at Goodison Park, but I'm sure Elliot's dulcet tones were were speaking to him ears, in a whisper, saying, "See, I told you so." But again, I am not here to toot my own horn, of course. But listen, with regards to Jorginho, back to in answer to your question, Jorginho, he's a guy that you would like to have at when you're in the lead of a match, in control of a match. He's there to see it through. That's his optimal point. When you need Jorginho. When you're chasing a game, it's going to be a bit of a problem because, again, he's not exactly, that stellar physically to, push a team forward. In a game like you had at Everton, he's not as muscular to face, a very vigorous sort of midfield. He's a guy that when you have a 1-0 or 2-0 lead, he comes in and you feel there's a bit of a rocky state going on with our side. He comes in, calms things down, brings possession into back to us, and sees us through to the end. So again, I would say that that's the optimal Jorginho for us, and is hope that Jorginho in time will have more of these tasks, more of these responsibilities. But going forward, you want to have him come in as that sort of assured backup, next season off the bench when we do get some more players, somebody like a Rice, somebody like, as you were saying this morning, Curtis, SMS, Sir Milinkovic-Savic, bring them in. Also, or a Caicedo, bring those guys in, and then you would have Jorginho as sort of like, that sort of player coach slash, a surety off the bench.
But listen,
you're going to give him the cones. Put the cones.
Yeah, exactly. He's a cone man. He's the second cone man. There you go. He's a cone whisperer. Give him the cone whisperer. There you go.
Thank you very much for your comments.
I must say,
you do make a lot of interesting points there, and one of them, which is what I said, is that Jorginho is almost more suited to when you're trying to shore up a game or close it out rather than when you're trying to chase it.
Absolutely.
But listen, thanks, bro. Thanks for your comments.
Big up Elliot, man.
Hopefully speak to you again soon.
Big up to you, lot. See you in the C unit, certified. And hey, big up to you guys. You guys are doing a wonderful job. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Likewise. Take care. Thank you very much. So there you have it. Yeah. Some of our callers there expressing their opinions. And you know what? They make some interesting points.
Yeah, man.
That last comment there, which is something that I said earlier, didn't I? That I said Jorginho's almost more suited to when you're trying to shore up a game and close it out rather than when you're trying to chase it.
Yeah.
But that's my thoughts. But listen, we started talking about the Brentford game.
Yeah.
This is a big game, massive game, especially in the light of what happened last week, Saturday. It's a very winnable game in my view. What's your thoughts, guys?
It's a tough game, man. Brentford are in good form at the moment. Quietly going under the radar. I'm seeing Thomas Frank. People are now saying, listen, next big job that comes up, he's going to be a name at the forefront of it. I think he's actually doing a brilliant job there. They've become an established Premier League team now. They play good football. They're strong. They're quick. it's going to be a hard game. I'm glad the game is at home. I know we beat them away from home, but I just feel like we need to get back to home base.
Definitely.
Couple of home games. I do still fancy us to win this game.
Would you make any changes? I mean, we've had back-to-back defeats. Okay, the first game of those 2 losses was against City away in the FA Cup. We did make a number of changes in that game. But there was a few players on Saturday that I've got to say were off it. Some people would say way off it. I'm not sure if I'll go that far, but nevertheless, are we exhibiting some tiredness there?
I think the thing you got to think as well, we play Man City on the Wednesday, so it's only like a 4-day turnaround. That's right. Which means, will Arteta play the same 11 in both games? And obviously, I think the following weekend we play Villa. So we're actually playing 3 games in about 7 days. So I would imagine he's going to have to make changes in one of those games. I mean,
well, I'm going to put it to you. I mean, listen, we heard that Partey may be carrying an injury. He came off early in the game. I think Jorginho came on. Actually, I think he came on just before they scored.
After, it's bad timing. Man was sending me messages going, Agent Jorginho, man, Chelsea have sent him to destroy us.
Now I'm going to ask you, do you think Jorginho starts against Brentford?
Well, I think what you got to look at, if people are giving Partey the excuse, was he not 100% fit against Everton? We don't know that. The manager will never tell us. If he's anything below 100%, then I think you've potentially got to take him out, because what we can't afford to do is play him and he breaks down and he's out for a long time. You've just told us how convinced you are of this signing. You heard Arteta's interview. He's wanted him for years. You may have to, if Partey's 80%, take him out of Brentford to get him 100% for the Man City game. So it depends on his fitness. If he's 100%, I would play him. But if he's anything below that, then maybe you look at it. And
some people were talking about Tierney coming back in for Zinchenko to provide a bit more overlap. I mean, you spoke on, you alluded to earlier, the overlap issue, as some people are calling it.
I think the problem you've got with that, even though I think the way Zinchenko plays hinders Martinelli a little bit going forward, Arteta wants him to play like that because we then dominate the midfield. So Zinchenko is actually in good form at the moment. He didn't have a great game against Everton, but most of our team didn't play well. So I don't see Zinchenko coming out. I think Ben White's had a couple of tricky games. Rashford troubled him against United. He didn't get forward much against Everton. He has had a great season. Tomiyasu's going to be knocking on the door, and Ben White seems to come off in a lot of games, which you don't often see that with defenders. So I wonder, is there a fitness issue? I don't know. Maybe he just changes it later on.
I think it's fair to say with Ben White, he's not hit the heights that he was hitting earlier in the season. Now, is that due to physicality? Is that due to loss of form? I mean, listen, over the course of a long season, both those things are going to happen or possibly happen. So is it a time now to bring Tomiyasu in? Because let's face it, every time Tomiyasu's come in, he's never let the team down, or very rarely.
Do you know what? I would be tempted to bring Tomiyasu in, and that's not nothing against Ben White, because I think Ben White, he's been one of the best right-backs in the league this season, but I think at times you will see that he is a centre-back playing at right-back. It's not his natural position, and I always felt like Tomiyasu and Saka last season had a very good partnership. And also, like I said, you can't win a title with 11 players. We know kind of what our strongest team is when everyone's available, but Europa League comes back at the end of the month. You're going to have to rotate. You've got to keep the whole squad interested. So I wouldn't be against Tomiyasu coming in at right back.
So basically you're saying is, in the light of the defeat and, you know, previous games and games going forward, maybe it's time for a bit of a refresh?
Just a little bit. I don't think...
Not wholesale.
Not wholesale, but I think 1 or 2 possibly, just to freshen it up. Give somebody a break and keep them... You look at Pep over the years and these guys, they rotate, you know. We've got 3 games in 7 days. I don't believe you can play the same starting 11 for all 3 of them games. The way things are, I think 1 or 2 of them... Sometimes you need to come out of the team for your own good and just see the game from the bench, come on, try and make an impact, and then maybe go back in for that City game. So, yeah, maybe 1 or 2 changes. Great to see Gabriel Jesus back running as well and kicking the ball. Yeah. I mean, I put a tweet out earlier saying, I can't wait. Oh, we need Gabriel Jesus back. And someone was like, you're so disrespectful to Eddie. And I was like, Eddie's doing a good job. But, of course, we want to have both options, because if one of them's starting, even against Everton at the weekend, it wasn't happening for Eddie. You know, you want to be able to change things around. I think Jesus and Smith Rowe could make a big difference when they're back.
Interesting. Okay then, bro. We're closing up the show now, and that leads me to ask you a result and why. Yeah. Can we get back to winning ways?
I think we can. I think it'll be a tough game, but see Brentford. They're going to try and spoil the party, because I'm looking at it from Thomas Frank's point of view. He's going to look at it and think Arsenal have lost their last 2 games. Do you know what I mean? And we said before, football is based on habits. You know, when you're winning, it becomes a habit. When you're losing, it can become a habit. So there is a little bit of pressure on us with that Man City game round the corner as well. But I just think Saturday, 3 o'clock, 60,000 in the Emirates, I think we'll have too much for them. I think they'll trouble us, though, Tony and them. I'm going to go for a 3-1 win.
3-1?
I'm going to go for 3-1. I think we'll score goals. I think, you know, we've had 2 away games up north.
No
Pep
goals.
told you about the jet lag, you know, that long journey up. So I think back at the Emirates, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that City play after we play.
Yeah, that's true.
So if we can win, go 8 points clear, put some pressure on them, maybe Unai Emery, because they've got Villa. Maybe he does us a favour. But I'm going to go for a 3-1 win. I think we'll have a bit too much. But it'll be a tough game.
I hear you, bro. I'm also going for a win. I'm going for a couple of goals. Well, 2-0.
2-0. Yeah.
We haven't scored in a while now,
yeah,
so we need to get back to winning ways.
Need a goal.
And we really do need this.
Yeah.
And this weekend, we need to show Brentford that we need it more than them. A bit like what Everton did to us, we need to do to Brentford. So.
Yeah.
But I'm confident. Listen, I'm looking at it more of a blip rather than a deep concern. Although, you know, I have to admit, I was slightly concerned at the manner of the defeat. But, you know, these things are going to happen over. We said it last week, Curtis, over the course of a long season with 18, 19 games left. Points are going to be dropped. And we've seen that last weekend. We dropped points, but fortunately for us, City also dropped points. And I think you're going to see that happen again before the end of the season. Hopefully not this week. But listen, that's it, bro. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thanks for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us as usual. Your usual articulate and self. And, you know, you offer your views unfettered, and that's what we like. Thank you guys for tuning in, watching, supporting. Appreciate that very much. Like, share, subscribe. Keeps it locked and loaded on this show all the time. Appreciate it. See you next week.